Morning everyone, welcome to our first Learn It Logic session. I'm Paul Brooks, I'm from Logic Wireless. Also helping to me today we've got Caine Jameson from Torutek, our development partner. For this webinar we're going to look at some of the features and functionality of our Logic Connect web-based platform. I'll just turn your attention to our, I should be sharing a screen right now, so hopefully you should be able to see that available to you guys as well. Now, just as a bit of an intro, over the next 30 minutes, we'll cover off the interfaces that are currently supported by Logic Connect. And then we'll also be able to provide a screen sharing session to guide us through the features of Logic Connect. We'll also show a demonstration of the emergency functionality and then finish off with the roadmap features that we're currently working on as well. After the presentation, which should hopefully only last about 30 minutes, we'll have another 30 minutes to answer any questions. So if you, during the presentation, please use the chat functionality at the bottom of the screen to ask any questions that you may have. Now, as far as interfaces go at the moment, we started out the platform supporting Tate DMR Tier 2 radio. That is still the case. We do support that functionality. Now, that function will work with outdoor tracking and it'll also work with all the emergency features that I'll show you later on as well. Now, the second interface that we support is analog radio as well. With analog radio, there's also an additional function in there where we can actually do a poll request from the radio as well. It's what we call like a manual poll in the platform. So instead of waiting for a timed poll come in, say every 15 minutes, we can set that at say 8 hours, but then you could actually look at doing a poll request from the radio. So it sends a message out to the radio and then it will fire back its actual location as well. The third interface is we are supporting Tate Tier 3 networks as well. With the Tate Tier 3 networks, you don't actually require a donor radio. The gateway will actually plug directly into the Tier 3 network itself. So for the case of DMR Tier 2 and analog radios, you do require a donor radio as well as a gateway that can be supplied from Logic Wireless as well. The next interface is smartphone applications. We do have an Android application that we can load onto the devices, as well as we're testing at the moment a iOS application as well. Now, this Android application is not available in the store at the moment, just while we actually sort of polish a few more things with the application, then it will become available in the Google Play Store as well. And that's the same for the iOS application. So they should be available very soon. If you do want a demonstration of that or a demo of it in the meantime, please get in touch with us. We're more than happy to share with you the APK file to then actually test it and trial it yourselves as well. So really that's the one other interface that we do support at the moment, but it's actually not listed here, is A-Track gateways as well. So A-Track is like a little wee cellular box that we can put into vehicles. Just it's very similar to other GPS platforms as well. It's sort of like a cellular black box that we can put into vehicles, and then that can send in its radio GPS as well. So that is the interfaces we're supporting to date as well. So what I'll do now is I'll start doing a bit of platform guidance. It's easier to show you guys how this platform actually operates by actually doing a screen sharing session and show you exactly how it all works. So what we'll do is we'll actually set up a customer. So hopefully you can see a map on your screen at the moment of the Logic Connect mapping interface. So the first part is we can go into manage here, and here we've got like different options. What we'll do first is clients. So in here we can actually go onto a screen. Now this gives us a list of clients that we've currently got under our demo login at the moment. So in here we'll use this Logic Wireless NZ client today. So in here we can go in here, it's pretty basic. We can actually do client name changes and that sort of thing. The other thing we can do is we can just go and add a client name. So that's sort of the first thing you need to do. From there, for setting up radio gateways and that sort of thing, LMR gateways, there are things called sites. Now these sites are, to give you an example, say you had ABC contracting company, and say they were working in construction. They may actually have 3 different depots that are too far away to cover by one donor radio. So say you had one of their sites could be in Auckland, one in Wellington, and one in Christchurch. So what you would need to do is actually create 3 different sites for that one client. So in here, we can go and add a new site. So we can put in here ABC, and we can put in Auckland. From there, we select the type of LMR network it is. Now, if it is a tier 3 network, a request would have to come to Logic to actually help set it up for you guys as well. The Tate tier 2 option also covers Tate analog as well, and then the other option there is Hytera tier 2. So from there, we've added a site, and that we've got here ABC Auckland Tate tier 2. From there, that's where we actually manage. We can go to manage the actual gateways as well. Again, we would have to assign that gateway to that site for the dealer, because when you will need to order one of those, say from Logic, and when you actually order that from Logic, it will be applied to your dealer account in Logic Connect as well. So in here, we've got our list of gateways. We can go in and actually edit and actually change the name of gateways, and then from there we can actually go ahead and select a site of the ABC contractors. Also under gateways, you've got a serial number which is unique to the gateways as well. So when you actually receive the gateway, it will have a 10-digit serial number on the side of it. And also we've got the status of these gateways as well. So you can see here at the moment we've got 2, the green ones mean they're actually online. The red will mean that they're offline, and grey means they've actually not actually been connected yet. From here, you can also actually get alert settings as well. So if a customer has a gateway go down, then you'll actually be able to send out email and text alerts. If these alerts are a bit annoying, you can actually also go ahead and actually disable those alerts as well. So that will actually give you an alert if the, say the IP connection to that gateway has gone down. It will also give you an alert if the donor radio going into that gateway has actually been disconnected as well. So if someone actually turns off the gateway, you'll get an alert. If someone turns off the donor radio, you will also get alert as well. So now that we've actually gone through and actually been able to set up a client, a site, and a gateway, now we can actually go through and actually set up assets as well. So in here, it's fairly simple. So we can go and click this add function up the top right. Mobile device is for iOS and Android users, and then we've got Hytera tier 2, Tate analog and tier 2, and then Tate tier 3 radios as well. So if we were to look at a smart device one, we could add in here. I'll just put in one and put all smart device. Now, there is the option for dealers as well. So there's a billing type here. So if you were just, they were a paying customer already and you're adding a new asset to their account, you can just add it as standard. And there is another option here of going trial. So that trial will turn up on your billing report as this account is set to 1 month at the moment. So you can set new assets so that they get a 1 month trial period for free without actually contacting Logic either. So this is something that a dealer can actually do. From there, we can actually assign this to a client as well. So I can add that to Logic Wireless NZ client. And type of device, it's an Android or an iPhone. I have an Android. And then we can go ahead and actually add that asset. And now we've actually got this new asset in here as a mobile device. As for LMR radios, same sort of scenario. You can add a name in there. There's the billing type, the client you actually add it to. Now this radio ID is the DMR ID of the radio as well. So that's one additional bit of information that is required for the setup. And then down here we've got a few other additional options. As described before, we have this manual polling feature for tape analog radios. So if we select that, you would have the ability to select in the drop-down tree and actually do a manual poll. Pretty much all the radios are going to have internal GPS, and this handpiece GPS and BLE is actually for something that we're working on at the moment to do indoor tracking via radio as well. So the next part is now that we've actually set up this new Android device, there is a link here called linked devices. Now when you set up a smart device, you actually need to link that device so it is unique to that dealer or that client. So linked devices, and it's pretty simple. When you actually install the application on the phone, it'll ask you for a 5-digit PIN code. And this is when you just click link and you'll get this 5-digit PIN code up here as well. Now, once you've actually entered that 5-digit PIN code, you'll then come down here to linked assets. Now, if you want to disconnect that smart device from that user, then we can just simply go ahead and actually unlink it as well. So from there, you've got all of your assets. There's quite a big list we've got in here in our demo account. From here, we've got this options field over the right-hand side here. So we can actually delete assets. You can completely delete them off the system. The other thing is you can actually deactivate those units as well. So think of it if you've got, say, rental radios out there that you're renting out to a customer for 2 weeks. We could then, at the end of that 2-week period, you're not actually then sending them out on another rental. But those rental assets, they want to be GPS tracked. You can actually deactivate that unit. So we can deactivate this asset. So then you will not be charged for that. And then going forward, what you can then do is you can go and reactivate it again. For any of the input of information you've put in there already, you can go ahead and actually go through and actually edit some of that information as well. You can also go through and actually filter per client. You can actually search for a particular device name or radio ID, and etc. as well. From there, we start looking at how we actually manage the users. This is for your own staff and your dealerships. So you can go ahead, look at manage users. Here we've got a list of users down here. Now we can see that there are different client types. There are dealers and then there are clients. Dealer is essentially your dealer login, so they can actually go ahead and add clients, gateways and sites, etc. Versus a client is what you would actually provide to the end client who's actually using the system. From here, we can easily go ahead and actually add this detail in here. Now, if we were adding a new user, pretty simple, self-explanatory sort of fields to list. We've got a name, an email address, and the other thing is mobile phone number as well. If you do not put a mobile phone number in here, then you will not be able to receive the emergency alerts and geofence alerts to the device, as well as gateway alerts. So you must have a mobile phone number in there for that feature to actually work. And then in here, you've got a drop down for user types. So you've got dealer administrator and clients. When you actually select client, you then get an additional drop down to select which client they are associated with. Now, if you also click the administrator, that will allow more editable fields within Logic Connect for the client as well. From the user login as well, so if we go manage users again, what we can do is we can go through and actually scroll, and actually you've got an option on the right hand side here again. Now the few options you've got is you can actually sign in as this user, so you can sign in and see exactly what that user can see. So it could be as simple as doing a bit of fault finding for that user. I'm not seeing emergency alerts coming through, so you can actually log in, test it, and show them how to actually work it. You can edit that user again, and then we come through to this alert settings. So at the moment, you've got enable alert settings. So for this user, we've got SMS turned on, excuse me, for emergency alerts. We don't have email, and then we've got geofence alerts as well. So I'll come back to the geofence alerts, how we actually create those, and how you can actually send alerts through that very soon. So just to show you guys, I'll log in as this Logic NZ demo client. So I'll sign in as this user. So now we can actually see in the mapping screen here, we've got a tree down the left-hand side here. Now we can see my whole Android, and you can see this is the address I am at the moment. So that's our work premises. We can also do a satellite view as well of the area. Now, when you actually click the user as well, you've also got a bit of detail for that asset up here as well, which is pretty standard in most GPS platforms. Now, to actually, what we can do as well is if we click map, this is this area here. If you've got the little wee drop down arrow next to it, so we can actually click history. So in here I'll select my device that I'm using at the moment. And then what we want to do is actually select the date and time. So the default it will do to half an hour. But if I actually look at the past 6 hours of this device, I can click 6 hours here, the past 6 hours. It'll update these fields. And if I click done, that'll now present the track I made this morning. Now the other thing we can actually see in the map view is we can actually go through floor plans as well. So in here we've got our different floor plans that we have available to us. We can look at level 1 of our office. which is this area here. You can see a couple of assets are there linked into the office now. But what we can do is we can click this button up here, which is this globe view. So what it's actually going to do is it's actually going to overlay that indoor map onto our standard maps as well. We can also hit satellite again from there and still have our map view. So that is the design of our building inside. Now there's quite a lot of detail we could actually go into with the indoor tracking side of things, but this is just to give you a bit of a look at what it can do. So this will allow us to actually roam from indoor coverage to outdoor coverage. But as far as like loading maps and how we set that map on the screen, how we add assets and the BLE beacons and that sort of thing, there's quite a bit of detail to go into there. You know, we could probably spend another half an hour doing that. So if you do want some more information around that Bluetooth tracking side of things, please let us know, and we can easily set up another session with you guys as well. So I'm just going to get rid of that indoor map for now. Now the other thing we can do is logged in as a client, we can go through and actually look at geofences. So in here I've got different types of geofences set up at the moment. So what we can do is geofences, you can actually have different colored versions as well. So we can go ahead here and we can say this is a high risk area, and we can make that whatever color we want. High risk normally means reds. So alert settings, we can do triggers on enter alerts and exit alerts, and that's where I go back to, you know, if you've got your user settings set to accept, or actually, sorry, send geofence alerts on entry and exits, you can do that through the user manage users screen. So we're going to add this geofence type here. And then from here, we'll go to the map. So what we can do now is we can come back to the mapping screen, and what we're going to do is draw out our new geofence. Now with this icon up in the top right hand corner here, we can select that, select the geofence polygon, and now we can actually go ahead and draw our geofence. And what we can do is we can draw that around the South Island. Select that. Now if we double click on the last point, that'll actually save that geofence. We can give that geofence a name. We can call this high risk, and from here we can select that new type of geofence. So we can select a red one here and select OK. That now saves that geofence. Now these geofences can be overlaid on indoor tracking maps as well as outdoor maps as well. If we want to modify that geofence, we can double click the edge of that geofence now. We can either delete that or move these points as well and select OK again, or like I said, we can delete them. Now as far as doing an emergency alert, what we can do here is, I'll see if I can pull my cell phone screen. So this is my cell phone screen. Now if I log into my device, now you've just all seen my security code to get into my phone. So this is the Android application. So we've actually got lone worker functionality, which we'll touch on soon with the roadmap items that we've got coming up. But what we can do from this application, it's a bit like your so you've got a countdown timer for the emergency alert. So now we've actually, the user on their cell phone gets an emergency has been sent alert, so they've been notified that has been sent. and you'll get an audible notification in the screen here, as well as just press OK on that as the user on my phone. I'll just mute this. So from there, what we can do is we can go into the emergency. Sorry, on the map as well, you actually get a red notification on here. We can then view this emergency, and we can actually, go out and actually find the guy, and then we can actually say, look, I've found him. And that's going to resolve that emergency. Now, the other thing we can actually do from the platform as well is we can actually send these emergency alerts to via an SMS. So if I just generate another emergency alert here, I'll mute that, but I'll actually keep this emergency alert alive in the system at the moment. Now, again, if I pull my phone screen in, yes, I can see I've sent another alert. But what I can do here is I drag down notification bar, and I've actually got a text message. So we can see some detail, but with this link here, I can actually click on this link, and instead of it going to Google Maps, it's actually going to open up the platform. So we can see that this user is currently in an emergency state, and then from there we get a map, his location, but at the bottom again we've got this resolve emergency. So in here what we can do is say found him with a broken leg. Now what happens is this SMS alert can go out to multiple users. So if you've got a lot of, you say you've got 30 guys that you're meant to be looking after, and we need to provide them a health and safety solution. So we need to keep an eye on these guys. And we've got 5 managers. What we can actually do is, when an emergency alert comes in, we can actually send an SMS alert to those 5 managers, and the first person that actually picks it up can then resolve it from here. So now we can actually resolve this emergency. Now that's from my cell phone, I resolved that emergency, and it's actually automatically resolved that in the platform as well, because we've got rid of that red bar. Now what will also happen is, since that one manager has actually resolved that issue, what the system can do is it can actually send out another text message to the 4 other managers to say it's been resolved by this user, and there will be the message content in there as well. So it will say, found him, he's got a broken leg, but I'm looking after him, sort of thing. So that's a demonstration of the emergency alert. So from there, there are a few other, that's sort of like the core functionality of the Logic Connect platform at this stage. Like I said, there's a lot more detail that we could continue into. However, we've got a limited amount of time here. What I will say is there's a couple of roadmap items that we're working on at the moment. So the first one being voice recording into Tate Tier 3 systems. Now, in here, you may have, the keen eye may have seen this, another link in here called Call Recordings. So this is something that has just been added to the platform. However, we're just going through our testing phases at the moment. So this will allow voice recording from Tate Tier 3 system. So essentially, we could easily go in here, select that Tier 3 asset, and then be able to do an apply filter. Because we've only just rolled the functionality out, it won't actually give us any records in here. So this is a feature that we're working on at the moment. So we're starting off with Tate Tier 3. We're then going to actually look at adding Tate Tier 2 and analog recordings to this as well. So this is a bit of a roadmap feature we've been working on. It's been about 2 months in the works so far. and we'd hope to have the Tier 3 call recordings sort of finished and rolled out into the platform over the next 2 to 4 weeks. We're also, with the voice recordings, we're going to be looking at how we can actually support this from POC systems as well. So the likes of Chatter PTT, we'll look at try and do voice recordings from customer hosted systems. So the essentially like a server is hosted by the customer themselves, and then from there we'll look at how we can actually use our cloud-based Chatter PDT system, which is multi-tenanted, to pull call recordings into this as well. The next part we're looking at adding into our roadmap, and what we're working on at the moment is lone worker. So at the moment, LMR radios have got lone worker actually built into them, and that uses the standard emergency features that you've seen a demonstration of here just before. So if a user doesn't report in, then it will put them into an emergency state. What we are also doing though is from my cell phone again, you'll see that we've added lone worker into the Android application. I'm just going to pull my phone screen in here again. So we've got lone worker in here as well. So we can go into lone worker and we can do it as a one-time setup, or we can do it as a recurring one. So if we wanted to make it so that user had to report in every 10 minutes, we can easily start that now. And then so the user could either come back into the application, we can change the time, or we can check in, or they've actually finished working for the day. Now the additional feature we're working on there is a lot of you might be aware of the Sonum range that we hold as well. So what we're looking to do is on the Sonum devices, they do have a feature key on the side of them along with an emergency key. So the feature key, it's a little yellow button on the side of the device. We're looking to actually use that button as a check-in to actually reset this timer as well. So there you go, I've just done like a restart of my check-in, so that will restart that timer. Now you will be able to eventually report in on those check-ins and when they've started and when they've actually finished for the day. But again, this is a feature that we're actually working on at the moment. The next step of the lone worker feature, especially with the smart device, what we want to do is when you say set a geofence inside a building, it could be a high risk area again. So when that device or that asset goes into that high risk area, we want to automatically turn on lone worker or be able to actually change the time. So that's something else that we're working on at the moment as well. And then the third thing that we want to highlight to you guys is the Tate Enable Fleet integration we've got going on at the moment. So what I'll do is get rid of that one, and let me see whether I can bring Caine into the conversation here. Are you there now, Caine?
Yep, morning all.
So Caine, from here, are you able to share your screen?
If you stop sharing first.
I'll stop sharing mine, and hopefully you can do a share screen for everyone.
There we go, can we see that?
I can see that, Caine, thank you.
Yep. All right, so I'm currently logged in as the demo account that Paul was logged in as. And in this scenario, I would have worked together with Logic to set up my site and my Enable Fleet instance. So after that all setup's been done, we'll add a Tate Tier 3 asset. With that asset, when that was set up, just to show you, we would have entered the serial number of that radio. Entering that serial number is what links it together with Enable Fleet. But after that's done, because of the work done together with Logic, when setting up Enable Fleet, we'll now get this Edit Enable Fleet Settings button. Clicking that, it'll give us the current settings on that radio. And then if we were to change one of these settings and click save, that'll queue up that change to be sent out over the air to the radio. In the future, we're planning to add extra settings that can be changed, such as conventional channels, the function keys on the radio itself, and pretty much anything that can be changed through the programming application. It just depends on the settings itself and adding in the functionality to edit those in the future. But that's all on the roadworks as well.
Hopefully you can actually see my share screen again. So one thing I actually missed was the reports functionality in here. So actually what I'll do is this drop down here, I'll return to the demo account, the demo dealer account. So this is as if you were logged in as a dealer. So in reports here, what I can actually do is I can create new reports. So we've got different reports here. So we can actually create an activity report. So all Android device. So this will be what we can do is I can select my same device that I actually used on the way to work this morning, and I'll do the past 6 hours again. Click done. And now the travel speed, you can set, these are the defaults, but you can actually modify them as well. So we can actually create a report here. Now in the platform, we can go ahead and actually look at that report. So we can look at the detail of, there's a summary of the distance traveled and whatnot, where I started, where I finished. Now the other report that is quite handy for dealers as well, so we can go up here and actually create a new report, and this asset billing report. So we can create a new one here. Now in this billing report, say you've got 10 clients, with this report you can actually go through and see how you actually need to invoice those clients as well. So if I just put today's date, so if I just go April 24 billings, and we'll just use today, we'll go from yesterday to today. We can actually create a report here, and we can actually go ahead and actually view that detail. So in here, this will actually give you the detail. So we've got 4 clients here. Now here are the amount of billable units for that customer. So for Logic Wireless NZ client, essentially we should be invoicing out for 6. For Logic Wireless Test, we could be invoicing out for 18. And then these non-billable ones, that will be because they're either a trial or a development unit as well. So this will actually be able to give you the detail of the invoice that you need to send to the customer. Now these activated units, so if you think back when I actually showed you, there was deactivated units as well. So if we actually added, say, the activated units, sorry, I'll actually take this New Zealand client here, activated units, so there's actually 12 activated ones. So that could, and then we've got 1 deactivated one. So between those, we've got 13 assets, which essentially is 7 of those are non-billable and 6 of them are billable as well. And then down the bottom here, we get a bit more detail about what sort of billing type they are. So here we've got standard, we've got a trial one here, and then we've also got some development ones here as well. So these could be used for, say, sales development, or trials for end customers as well. Down here also we've got a number of billable days. So that's where we can start looking at rental assets and that sort of thing. So if we've had a rental asset go out for 2 weeks, then we can actually run this report and actually show that over 2 weeks, 14 days, so you'd have billable days showing 14 for that. Now, also something that's quite handy for you guys as well, there's a little wee help icon up the top of the screen here. So if you click into this, you can go back and actually look at some of the detail about how you actually operate the platform. We're continuing to update this as well. So recently we put a help file in there. How do you actually set up an emergency user, and how you can actually send emergency alerts from devices and that sort of thing. The other thing we're working on at the moment is from our Logic support portal. We're also going to put up some help files there about how you can actually set up your donor radio and portable, say. We can also provide some default files that you guys can actually play around with as well. So we've got some screenshots in there we can actually share in our support portal to set up those types of assets and donor radios. So really that ends the introduction to the Logic Connect platform. But if you have any further questions later down the track, please feel free to email the Logic team or give one of them a call.